You know, weekends like this one with Halloween are often chock full of parties and drinking. For some, it is unfortunately a time when they make a mistake and find themselves charged with domestic violence. Recent changes in Colorado mean anyone charged with domestic violence may find it harder to complete court-ordered therapy. If you've ever been charged with domestic violence, it is important now more than ever to get a great lawyer who can prepare you for what lies ahead. Jansen and Associates are members of the Colorado and Denver Bar Associations. They belong to the Colorado Criminal Defense Bar and the National College of DUI Defense Attorneys. And they have no complaints registered with the Better Business Bureau. Here's Chris Kane.
Molly Jansen is the owner and partner of Jansen and Associates. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So today we're going to be talking about domestic violence. And with a weekend like we're having this weekend, a holiday weekend, domestic violence typically is a lot higher than on just a normal weekend.
That's correct. Generally, we see a rise in domestic violence around the holidays, starting from Halloween pretty much through the new year. Holidays tend to spark a lot of emotional issues, particularly around financial trouble and whatnot. And so we see a rise in that, particularly between now and the end of the year.
And then the lot more drinking seems like too during holiday weekends.
You know, it is because there's so much stress going on, and especially with our financial situation in the economy, we're finding that a lot more people are drinking more. They're feeling the stresses of that. A lot of people have lost their job in what typically would have been, a two-job family. And so the pressures are a lot higher. And so once you add alcohol, the regular fight is turning south very, very quickly.
Yeah, and I would imagine, too, that even, with the best intentions, people celebrating so that they may be drinking, but, alcohol affects people weirdly, and even though, again, it's not with the bad intention, but things can turn bad when people drink too much anyway.
Very quickly, and a lot of times, people sometimes think domestic violence is when you're getting physical. Domestic violence, the charges that fall within that under the law are things like taking someone's phone away from them, or harassing them, or punching a wall. Those kinds of things can qualify, and so it's not what people are typically thinking of, oh, he or she must have hit their partner. It's not always that. It can be some other kinds of things that don't really register as, oh my gosh, that would be considered as domestic violence, where it is. And then they find themselves getting arrested.
Oh, yeah. And then there's some changes, too, that have happened in the law. Explain what those changes are now.
Well, I think what people need to know is, number one, if the cops are called on a domestic, somebody's going to jail. Not only that, you have to sit in jail once you're arrested, and you can't get out until you see a judge. And typically, you're placed on bond once that happens. But the biggest change in the law is that if you're convicted of domestic violence prior to the new law that just went into effect this summer, you would do about a year or more of probation, but 36 weeks of domestic violence counseling. That is now discretionary, which means your probation officer can determine whether you do 10 domestic violence classes or 50. It's all up to them, which means your probation can now go on for years. And it's really, it's discretionary when they're going to let you off. So it's not a good situation for them.
And what does it mean if you're charged with domestic violence? Is that something that's going to be on your record forever?
Typically, and domestic violence isn't a charge, it's an enhancer. Okay. So really it's the underlying charge, generally third-degree assault, harassment, phone obstruction, those kinds of things. But once the domestic violence attaches, that's going to be a problem. And if you're convicted, you lose your right to carry a weapon. There are lots of consequences that people don't understand that are associated with that.
And it's pretty complicated. So if people do get charged, I mean, they need to seek some advice. Otherwise, they're looking at getting themselves in deeper.
That's right. Get on the phone, have free consultations with attorneys, figure out what you're going to do, what you need to do, what your rights are, and then get a game plan together.
And really, as you always tell our viewers, the best way to avoid these situations is know if this could potentially happen, and stay away from the drinking, stay away from the drugs.
And if you get into an argument, walk away, leave, go away. If you've been drinking, get on foot. Call a friend, get out of the situation, go into a bathroom and shut the door and count to 10. Take a break. Call someone that can help you out before you make a bad decision. And if you're the victim of a situation like that, call a resource. Do what you need to do to get out of that situation. But really, the number one thing is avoid it. Just avoid it. And if you know you have an anger management problem, first of all, get some help. Let's start with that. But secondly, don't drink, don't do drugs. Avoid it.
Excellent. Well, Molly, as always, great information. I'm going to tell our viewers how they can get a hold of you.
Thank you.
All right, Jansen and Associates wants to ensure that you are represented fairly and informed about the charges against you before you make a bad decision. They are criminal defense law firm handling everything from traffic offenses to domestic violence to DUI to major felonies. Call them right now, 303-832-5400, or visit their website at janssenlegal.com. They offer free consultations. The number one more time, 303-832-5400.